Hey guys, it's Jack here, and today I'm going to be making a video about patch 7.5 and which ADCs I think are good right now on the general state of ADCs right now. So first I'm going to talk about which ADCs are good, and I sort of have a little tier list for you guys. I think the two best ADCs right now, which I think are probably S tier, are Ezreal and Jhin. I think Ezreal's really good because he really likes Fervor, and he's also a very safe ADC and can carry one ahead. However, I don't think he's that easy to carry with in the early game because he's not that strong. But I think definitely when you get to like competitive setting, then I think Ezreal gets even stronger. But I still think he really benefited from this patch because Ezreal already loved Blade of the Ring King, and he also already used Fervor. The next up is Jhin, and while Deathfire Touch did get nerfed this patch, I still think Jhin is a very good pick. They didn't change Jhin in particular, however they did nerf Edge of Night, so I've been seeing a lot of people go Essence Reaver instead of the Lethality build. However, I don't really know which is best of these two, but I still think Jhin is a very powerful pick just due to the amount of range he can deal from such a long distance. And for my A tier, I'd say Caitlyn, Vayne, and Ashe are in there, and then also Draven, and I'll go through why I think that is so. I think Draven is A tier right now. He's sort of weird to play. I haven't quite figured out what I want to build. I've tested out Blade of the Ring King. It's nice sometimes, however it feels a bit lackluster. I've also tested out just doing the classic U-moves into Death Stance or Bloodthirster. However, I don't really like that as much either. And for Caitlyn, she's really strong right now, because she really likes Fervor, or she used to do Warlords just because it was so good, but she doesn't hate Fervor, and I think she's very strong with it, and she's a very good early game ADC, and you can definitely outbully a lot of people with it. And then next is Vayne, and she's sort of a late game monster, as most of you probably know, and she also likes Fervor a lot. However, I think the biggest thing for Vayne is the fact that Blade of the Ring King is so much better, so she can just rush that and get that early lifesteal, which makes the fact that she doesn't have Warlords that bad, because she can easily sustain with the lifesteal from Blade of the Ring King. And then next up is Ashe, which I think is really strong right now because she really likes Fervor with Q procs, and she also didn't abuse any lethality items, so I think she's probably a lot better than she was in the last patch. And with Draven, I've been having a lot of trouble lately. I don't really know what the thing is. It just feels like he's really lackluster this patch. However, when I look like what has actually changed, there shouldn't have been any difference to him. And I've also tried going Warlord's Bloodlust. It feels like a really lackluster mastery. It's like for the first 9 to 7 levels, it almost feels like it doesn't have a mastery. So I think they're going to have to buff it if it's ever going to be used. Because right now it just feels really useless, but that might just be me doing something wrong. But it just feels really lackluster and really low damage wise, and I don't see why you would take it. It's just so much worse than Fervor in pretty much all aspects, so yeah. And for the next tier, the B tier, I have Lucian on first place. I think Lucian is maybe B plus tier right now. I think actually he's really strong, and especially with the Fervor, Fervor being what you take now essentially as masteries, and he's pretty good with the Essence Reaver build, or you can also go U-moves into Essence Reaver. I think that works decently as well. However, I think just going Essence Reaver and ignoring U-moves also works. I think Lucian's also good because of the buffs he got. He has a lot more smoother combos, and he can much more easily get his Q off later in the game because of the changes. And I also think he was one of the people that used Fervor when everybody used Warlords, so I definitely think now that Warlords gone, or the Warlords as we know it, or knew it, is gone, I think he's a lot better. And next up I have Callista. And I think Calista is sort of the same thing. She really likes Fervor. However, I don't think she's that great. I don't think she's as good as Lucian. But I think she really works well with like a CC support that takes Bond of Stone. Because, for example, with the Nautilus, when the Nautilus auto attacks, then she gets the Bond of Stone heal and as well gets the W proc on the person Nautilus hit. So that's a lot of damage and a lot of heal, so I think that's a good combination. And next up is Misfortune. I think Misfortune is quite weak this patch. She got nerfed in this patch, and yeah, that's pretty much it. She also, or the also lethality items got nerfed, and she really liked using those. So I think she's quite a lot weaker. Next up I have Twitch, and I think Twitch is less stronger this patch than he was last patch. I think he's quite good with Blade of the Ruined King and with Fervor, especially those two combined, because he can just output mass amounts of damage really quickly. But I don't think he's that great, so I'm gonna be putting him in the B tier. And the next tier is the C tier, and here I have Varus. He's gotten a lot weaker with the lethality nerfs and with the Warlord's change and with the Deathfire Touch nerf. Like before, he used to either do Deathfire Touch or Warlords, and now Warlords is different, and Deathfire Touch got nerfed this patch. So he's a lot weaker, and now you can't really go lethality on him, and his Q also got nerfed, so you can't really do the spam Q with lethality anymore that you used to be able to do. And yeah, I think he's a lot weaker, but definitely still viable. Next up is Jinx, and I think Jinx is a bit stronger this patch. She really likes Fervor, and I think you could go Blade of the Ruined King on her. I'm not quite sure how good it would be, but I definitely think it's a viable strategy. And yeah, she likes Fervor, and she was pretty bad again with lethality. So now that lethality ADCs are sort of out, she can definitely be better. Next up is Kog'Maw, and I wouldn't really recommend playing him unless you're either scripting or really like him very much. I don't think he's that great anymore or right now. Like, he's better than he was last patch probably, but I don't think he's that great. But you can still definitely pick him. I think all of these ADCs, regardless of tier, are ADCs that you can pick. I just want to tell you guys like which ADCs I think are good right now and which ADCs I don't think are as good right now. Next up we have Tristana, and like, she's just not good. I don't know why I would pick her. She's just straight up not good. Like, she has mobility, sure, but her mobility is literally the clunkiest thing in the entire game and the slowest thing. Like, you could literally walk faster than her W. And it's like the most easily cancelled ability in the entire game. Like, every Thresh montage has a moment where they cancel Tristana's W because it's just so easy to cancel. One, it's predictable as fuck. Two, she does it so slowly. Like, the wind-up animation is slower than a dog that doesn't have any legs. It's just so slow. And, like, she does no damage, or like, she does damage with her E and ultimate. She has some burst, but she doesn't even do close to damage like Draven or Vayne or something like that. So I don't really know why you would pick her. Maybe if you really like her, but she's definitely not good. I mean, she's in the C tier. That says enough. Next up is Sivir. I think Sivir also likes Fervor quite a lot. She can stack it pretty easily with the W auto attack reset, and the fact that she gets a lot of attack speed and also relies a lot on crit. So I think she's also stronger, but yet she's still not really up there, you know. Yeah. So now I'm gonna talk a bit about like just the state of ADC in general. I think a big part that is really good for us ADCs is the exhaust nerf, especially because it's how it's nerfed. We can see that they reduced the attack speed, or they removed the attack speed reduction, which doesn't really make that big of a difference for like assassins. And they also removed the MR and armor reduction, which is also good for us, but also good for assassins. So I think both assassins are better, but I also think like ADCs are much better because of this exhaust nerf, and really the attack speed reduction really fucked some ADCs over. Like if you were Draven and got exhausted, then you essentially could do like one auto attack in the entire exhaust duration, and it just felt horrible trying to do an auto attack. So I'm really glad that they nerfed that. However, I think the ADC meta will really change, and I think ADC as a role got a lot weaker this patch. And I'm sort of disappointed in that Riot chose to just nerf Varus and Jhin instead of looking at what the core problem is with ADCs right now. I feel like there isn't really a build that has everything, sort of like how a tank has it, you know? Like, if you want to go Infinity Edge and do a crit build, then you're going to be strong later in the game, but it's really clunky getting there with, like, either you get an Infinity Edge and then a Seal item, and then between those two you're really weak, or you get a Seal item and then an Infinity Edge, but then you're really weak with just the Zeal. And the build path is really wonky, and it just feels really cluttered, and I just wish we sort of had, like, more options and more. I think we have quite a lot of options to this patch though, so I guess that's good, but it feels like they're just essentially making like 2 or 3 champs really good and then nerfing those champs while the role is just getting more or just getting weaker and weaker, and it just feels sort of dumb at this point, you know, because I think an overall problem with ADCs at the moment are that we can either choose to get an early game build, or we could, before with the lethality, a lot of ADCs could be really strong in the mid game, but now that lethality is essentially out, you have to build essentially one way and get crit, otherwise you're not going to be able to do much, and you're going to be really weak in most parts of the game, except when you get those crit items and you're suddenly going to explode, and I don't really think that's very healthy or it's very fun. And I wish it was more like how you can change up the way you build as you would in the top lane or the mid lane. You can't really do that as an ADC, but yeah, I mean, this is just my opinion on how it is right now, and some people may not agree with this, and some people think probably ADC is fine right now. I don't think that ADC is in a completely terrible spot. I just wish that, or I don't really like how Riot is really approaching ADCs at the moment, and I think that they should, instead of just nerfing what is good, like Varus, for example. Varus has been untouched for years, and then suddenly he gets a nerf just because the items fit him for a patch. It just feels really like, you know, maybe that will happen to Draven. Draven hasn't been changed in a long time, except for that small Q change, which was a bit of a buff, and the W change. But before that, he hasn't been changed in a long time. And then maybe the items will fit him, and then suddenly he'll get nerfed. But I'd rather make it so the items sort of fit more ADCs. So I think the itemization is the biggest problem, which is why a lot of ADCs aren't meta, and which is why there will only be around 3 or 4 champions that will be truly the best in the meta. However, I don't think this is such a big problem in solo queue. It's more in competitive play, but you can definitely feel it in solo queue, and especially at higher and higher tiers, it becomes more and more obvious and harder and harder to try to carry with champions that aren't the best. But I'm not using this as an excuse, like I would be challenger if I played a Jhin or something. I'm not trying to say that. It's just sort of like I don't really like where Riot is going with their balancing changes regarding ADCs. So yeah, that was sort of like my rant on Riot's balance on ADCs. I've also been having some rough games with Draven. I haven't quite got my groove back yet. I took quite a long break, and I dropped the Diamond 1 due to inactivity on my account. And it feels like my mechanics have sort of tarnished a bit. I've gotten a bit rusty, but I think I'll be back in Master. Shouldn't take too long. And when I get back in Master, I'll probably start streaming. I just want to get back there on my own, and then I feel like it's worth for me to start streaming. I don't want to stream while I'm Diamond 1, because Diamond 1, in my opinion, Diamond 1 isn't very good, and so I want to sort of prove to myself first that I'm going to get Master, and then I'm going to start streaming to you guys. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video, guys. I'm sorry if it was sort of dumbled or bumbled around, but I just wanted to talk about which ADCs I think are good right now, and yeah, the overall state of ADCs, which I find kind of annoying. I really don't like that they changed Warlord's Bloodlust. It feels like such a gimmicky thing. It just doesn't feel good at all, in my opinion, and yeah, I'd rather they just changed it in some other way. Right now it just feels like such a gimmick to me, and I really don't like it. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Peace.